Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation on NFT metadata standards for composable metaverse assets. I'm Grig Bilham, CEO of Sumset.Tech, and I'm excited to share our work and insights with you today. This has been a labor of love, and I've been following a lot of these standards for quite some time. This is my first opportunity to really present it all in a single package. So it's been very educational for me, and I hope it is for you guys as well. Um, Before I dive in, I just wanted to run through the agenda. First, I'll review the current landscape of NFT metadata schemas and, to understand the challenges and opportunities. Then I'll present our solutions and approach to addressing these challenges. And finally, we'll discuss the importance of collaboration and community involvement in driving adoption and long-term sustainability of these standards. Throughout the presentation, we'll cover a wide range of topics, starting with the overview of the metaverse, blockchain, and their synergies. We'll then explore the real-world problems faced by creators and developers in the NFT metaverse ecosystem, highlighting the need for standardization and interoperability. I'll introduce Sumset.Tech and our NFT.Pro project, which aims to improve a comprehensive or provide a comprehensive solution for metaverse creators, developers, and users. We'll also delve into the scope of our research covering various metadata standards, blockchain networks, and NFT marketplaces. A key focus of our presentation will be on composable assets and their role in enabling rich interactive experiences across metaverse environments. We'll compare different metadata schemas, including ERC721, Engine, OpenSea, some wide range of avatar metadata, and I'll showcase Chia's schema standard as a promising solution for composable NFTs. To illustrate the potential of composable assets, we'll present case studies featuring Monkey Zoo NFTs and Trashformers NFTs. Both are projects I'm deeply involved with. I use these projects as a way to further the technology behind the projects and to identify any holes in what we're building. So these become very useful for us. I'll also provide a brief overview of NFT or Pro's features and capabilities through a series of screenshots. And finally, I'll conclude with a call to action, emphasizing the importance of collaboration and inviting you to join us in shaping the future of NFT metadata standards for the metaverse. So let's embark on this journey together and explore the exciting possibilities of composable metaverse assets. Blockchain technology provides a foundation for secure, decentralized metaverse through provenance, which is immutable records of ownership and authenticity, decentralization, so no single point of control or failure, peer-to-peer transactions, secure direct exchange of value, global DeFi, accessible borderless financial services, and we'll look at the blockchain primitives, the building blocks of the metaverse. Blockchain primitives are include NFTs, unique verifiable digital assets, DIDs, decentralized self-sovereign identity, DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations for governance, offer files, which are global peer-to-peer trades without an exchange, data layer, which is a scalable, efficient data storage and retrieval, verifiable credentials, which are tamper-proof, privacy-preserving identity management, and vaults, which are multi-key signatures for secure asset management and access controls. I want to point out that those last four are Chia blockchain primitives. I believe they will appear on other chains over time, but Chia has kind of made these primitives available for developers in a way that's been extremely helpful. I think it really does point the way towards sort of metaverse that we all need. In terms of extending the metaverse, I believe that, in this slide, I'm trying to define the metaverse, but I believe that it kind of extends itself into the physical and digital realms in different ways. So I see the digital goods, which are physical items, with digital twins in the metaverse, and digital twins, which are virtual representations of real world objects or systems, real world assets, which are, tokenization of real world assets for fractional ownership in liquid markets, supply chain tracking, which is blockchain based tracking for transparency and accountability. And I see these things as kind of entering into the metaverse as required by the projects that use them. The metaverse and blockchain are simply tools for communication and delivery of data and information. So I think these things will naturally kind of meld together over time. So it's important to understand where we're headed with the schemas and support for those things in the future. The NFT metaverse ecosystem faces several challenges due to fragmented metadata standards. Dominating marketplaces define their own standards. OpenSea's standard is the most common and is a mix of multiple standards and informal attributes. Creators are forced to adopt incomplete solutions due to lack of alternatives. Metaverse and blockchain developers promote their own solutions, leading to further fragmentation. Isolated communities adopt solutions for their platform-specific evangelists. These fragmented standards lead to challenges for creators and developers. Inconsistent artwork, metadata across platforms, difficulty integrating in-game assets from different blockchains, no centralized or federated source of standards, examples, and schema validation. Risks of NFTs becoming obsolete due to the immutable nature of tokenized assets. One of the unique things about NFTs and integrating them with the metaverse is we kind of have to predict how the metaverse will consume these assets before the metaverse is really available, or at least defined in a way that everyone can rely on the standards. Real world example of these challenges is in case of the VRM avatars. Avatars highlight the need for standardization in the metadata. I'll go into that in a future slide, but essentially there's a lack of interoperability, which hinders the growth of the avatar ecosystem. And we'll hope to address these issues because it's crucial for the growth of interoperability of the NFT metaverse ecosystem. Our company, Sumset.Tech, brings extensive experience into establishing industry standards across various domains. We've developed propagation modeling standards for the FCC. We've worked with real-time data standards for the USGS, and most recently, we've been involved in creating blockchain standards for Chia. As a member of the Metaverse Standards Forum, Sumset.Tech is actively engaged in shaping the future of the metaverse. We believe that the standardization is the key to fostering innovation, interoperability, and growth in the emerging ecosystem. One of our flagship projects, NFT Pro, aims to provide a solution for standardized composable NFT metadata across different blockchains and metaverse platforms. NFT Pro is designed for enabling seamless minting, trading, and use of NFTs across multiple platforms, ensuring cross-chain compatibility and interoperability, implementing a standard metadata for consistent and reliable asset management, fostering the success of the creator economy by providing tools and resources, operating as an open source project funded by grants to ensure accessibility and transparency. Through NFT Pro and our involvement in the Metaverse Standards Forum, we are committed to contributing to development of a more open, interoperable, and sustainable metaverse ecosystem. In our research, we explored a wide range of assets, metadata standards, NFT standards, blockchains, marketplaces to understand the current landscape of and identify opportunities for standardization. And what you can see here is 20 different NFT standards, 23 different blockchains, and 22 marketplaces that were all considered in this data. I think that there's plenty more work to do, but I think this was a about as much as I could get together for this presentation, and it does give us a really good understanding of what's out there and in the real world. As a metaverse ecosystem grows and evolves, NFTs are becoming more sophisticated. And so I wanted to talk about the future of composable assets and NFTs. Composable NFTs are designed to be modular, interoperable, and discoverable. I think that last part's really important. They allow users to combine, modify, and repurpose digital assets in various ways, enhancing their user experience across metaverse environments. To enable composability, NFTs need to have certain characteristics. They need to have a comprehensive metadata schema that defines the parts of the asset and the relationships of those parts to them. And they need to support tracking changes, additions, and removals of components through on-chain updates, ensuring a tamper-proof record of the asset's history. They should incorporate standards like the DIDs to establish provenance and enable secure, verifiable ownership and transfer of assets. And one important standard in this context is the C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. C2PA aims to combat misinformation and protect creators' rights by ensuring transparency and traceability of digital content. And a lot of companies are behind this. Important groups: Adobe, ARM, BBC, Intel, Microsoft, and TruePic. And they're kind of leading the charge. This stuff is already embedded into Photoshop and other flagship properties. Establishing the technical specification for proving the origin and authenticity of the media is an essential part of that. And the C2PA also uses cryptographic signatures, distributed ledger technology, and metadata embedded in the content itself. Brings together the founding group of companies and media organizations that I mentioned. By leveraging standards like C2PA and designing NFTs with composability in mind, we can create a more dynamic, interoperable, and user-centric metaverse ecosystem. Composable NFTs open up new possibilities for creativity, collaboration, and value creation, enabling users to build unique experiences and assets that can be used across multiple platforms. As we continue to develop and refine NFT standards, it's crucial to provide composability and make that a priority. By doing so, we can unlock the full potential of NFTs and create a more vibrant, engaging, and interconnected metaverse where you can imagine users and creators mixing and matching assets together for use online. NFT marketplaces play a vital role in the metaverse ecosystem, serving primary hubs for digital assets, creation, discovery, and trade. Major marketplaces like OpenSea, Rarible, Binance, NFT support multiple blockchain networks already, like Ethereum and Polygon, enabling users to access a wide range of NFTs across different platforms. These marketplaces have a significant influence on the adoption and development of NFT metadata standards. They often define their own standards or extend existing ones to cater to their specific needs and user experiences. By doing so, they shape the way creators and developers structure and present their NFTs, driving the evolution of metadata standards in the metaverse. So in other words, marketplaces are an essential part of this, and they are kind of driving the frontier at this point. One of the key advantages of major marketplaces is their multi-chain approach. By supporting various blockchain networks and metaverse platforms, they promote interoperability and allow users to trade assets seamlessly across different metaverse ecosystems. This has been crucial for fostering a more connected and accessible metaverse where users can enjoy a wide range of experiences and assets without being confined to a single platform. In addition to the major marketplaces, there are also specialized marketplaces that cater to specific metaverse niches. For example, Vipe.io and Upstreet.ai focus on VRM avatars, providing a dedicated space for creators and users to explore, create, and showcase these unique digital assets. Other marketplaces like Metaverse specialize in metaverse assets, artifacts, avatars, and spaces, offering a curated selection of NFTs tailored to specific users' interests and needs. NFT marketplaces also drive innovation through collaboration with metaverse industry. They forge partnerships with metaverse platforms, blockchain networks, and creators to introduce new features, experiences, and opportunities for users. By working closely with the community to gather feedback, these marketplaces contribute to the overall growth and development of the metaverse ecosystem. As far as the metaverse continues to evolve, the role of NFT marketplaces will become increasingly important. By shaping metadata standards, promoting interoperability, and fostering innovation, these marketplaces will help unlock the full potential of NFTs and create a more vibrant, engaging, and interconnected metaverse for all users. So now I'm going to start actually digging into some of these standards and give you guys an example of the variations that I've found and how they are also similar. And we consider ERC 721, Engine, OpenSea, Avatar Metadata, and the Chia NFT metadata standards in this presentation. There are many other schemas in the wild, and additional research is needed to distill all the variations into a single schema that addresses all the current requirements, as well as future-proofing the standard with schema versioning. So for the first one we're going to look at here, the ERC 721 provides a basic framework for NFT metadata using a JSON file with the attributes like name, description, image, and properties. It serves as the foundation for many NFT projects. In fact, all of them at this point. This ERC 721 standard is essentially being adopted by every blockchain that I looked at. If they don't reference it directly, they have their own version of it that reference it indirectly. So this is kind of the basis of everything going forward. So the engine metadata, which is also super popular and promoted by OpenSea and Ethereum, is geared towards gaming assets, introducing structured properties and display enhancements and hierarchical organization for complex attributes and stats. So you can see they've just sort of added additional information here. And then on top of that, OpenSea extends the metadata of those last two formats with multimedia attachments, enhanced display attributes, metadata freezing, refreshing, extended interactivity, and trading mechanisms catering to their platform-specific needs. But these some of these attributes have been adopted by metaverse platforms because they were conveniently available. So as a leading marketplace, OpenSea has written the playbook on metaverse integrations using NFTs. So now I wanted to take a quick look at the avatar schemas, and there's a lot of variety, and in fact, there's so much variety and so little specific definition about how avatars should be defined in NFTs so that they can be used in the metaverse that there are the best source of information is third-party blogs and a GitHub location I found, which I've listed here, which shows about 30 different avatar projects, and each one of those with a different schema. And the schemas that I've highlighted on this slide, you can see on the far left, the VRM underscore URL, that has become the quintessential way to load an avatar into a metaverse application at this point. So I'm sure other standards are out there, but this is the one that the community of people creating avatars is currently pushing. So what I'm hoping to sort of drive home here is that nobody really knows what the standard is, so they're just sort of adding as much information as they can in hopes that someday somebody will figure it out. And I'd like to, this is the last schema I just wanted to talk about, which is the Chia schema. Chia's adopted schema.org, and their standard offers a comprehensive, extensible, widely acceptable framework for describing digital and real world assets and addressing the changes and challenges of NFT metadata standards. We've been working closely with Chia on integrating and promoting this solution, and it's built into the core of our products. And on this slide here, you can see the basic items on the left. So that's stuff like, the format and the attributes and the collection. And then we get into the interesting stuff that makes it more usable in decentralized applications and metaverse applications. Main assets, the thumbnails and URLs are all spec'd out in a way that is going to look very standardized. To anyone who's used schema.org, this will look very familiar. Schema.org is adopted all over the place. W3C has sort of engaged with them, and many other properties use schema.org. So and it's super useful. There's been a lot of community input, and schema.org listens to them and makes changes when necessary. And we've experienced some of that personally. It's been great to work with their group. This third example here, the composable parts. This is an example of a 3D object, and it shows its transformation. So where that 3D object is placed in the scene, as well as the reference to the file, its file name, and a SHA-256, which is a hash of the file, so that you can prove that the data that you're pulling in is validated and correct. So this sort of goes back to the basics of blockchain. And then on the far right is just an example of associated media. So in this example, there's an MP4 video of the object turning. There's the primary model, which is a GLTF binary file with 3 URLs for making sure that if one of them dies, the other ones are still available. And it mentions the encoding format. And I think I'm stopping here just to point out that I think this is really the closest thing out there to a complete solution that's future-proof. So now I'm going to look at some real-world examples. This is the Monkey Zoo NFT project. It's a client of ours who's been integrating their entire collection to be composable. And here you can see the editor on the left, including a palette of the NFTs you can choose from. When you click on an NFT, you get to see the layers of that NFT that you want to add. And then you can use a simple tool for moving the layers around and creating your new NFT. And then there's a bunch of screens that are not shown here that walk you through the formalization of the minting process. And then once you're done, you can, of course, trade it and share it with others or use it in different applications. On the right, you can see what we call the fusion page for an NFT, which shows you the parts used for the activities that can be done, as well as the provenance, which is an interactive ancestry tree at the bottom. And this is another project. This is our 3D project that we're using for making sure that our schema is complete and the project works, and that you can indeed compose a new 3D object from parts of another one. And this really demonstrates the potential of composable 3D assets with metadata detailing each part's traits, model URLs, the transformations, enabling customization and interactivity across metaverse environments. So this is our tool, NFT Pro. It's free, open source, multi-chain transcoding, exporting, and minting. They essentially the screen just shows you some of the parts of the process. So you can see on the left there the files that are attached to a single NFT and how they're used in the NFT. And there's I don't know if you guys can see it on your screen. I'm sure it's kind of tiny, but there's a, a modal dialog here that shows the update metadata process, which allows you to import, in this case, 123 NFTs, and then decide what to do with all of the different types of assets that are associated with it. So, one is the main asset, like a PNG, or in this case, a MP4 turntable of the image. And then, you can choose thumbs, links, and associated data. It means that it's a variation of, these are, by the way, all pulled from schema.org's schema. So an associated piece of media means that it's not a part of the object, it's a variation of the object. So that would be, for example, a the 3D image in its entirety, or the entire GLB file, or the MP4 turntable version of the file. Those are all considered associated, and then you can choose parts, which are as it sounds, the different pieces that make up the complete component. And so this gives you a way to define, how these parts fit together. And in this example of the Trashformers, it's composed of 4 different pieces: a head, a waist, a main body, and legs. And for each one of those, we define where in 3D space those are positioned using a transform. And the transform is standardized. We're using the same approach as the standard GLB files. So we can basically define rotation, scale, and position in a single metadata document that can then rebuild the final piece from the parts. So to conclude, standardizing NFT metadata is crucial for enabling composable, interoperable assets in the metaverse. NFT Pro offers a comprehensive solution, and collaboration through initiatives like the Metaverse Standards Forum is essential. We invite you to join us in refining standards, providing feedback, and participating in discussions. Together, we can unlock the full potential of the metaverse and shape its future. Visit NFT Pro and enjoy our community and learn more and get involved. And that's it. Thank you, guys. Oh, there's a feedback link at the bottom if you guys want to provide us with any information, any feedback, that would be appreciated. Thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Grig. This was a wonderful presentation. I really loved the overview of everything and the specifics. It was really great. I've seen a lot of hands over the course of the presentation, so I'm just gonna go with the first one that I see, and that's Tracy. Tracy, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, it was a really interesting presentation. And actually, I put my hand up and then I put my hand down because my questions kind of changed over the presentation. So a question for you then. So this is about standardizing across assets in the main topic, which was avatars. So these potentially are for player and non-player characters, right? So people could use them in any way that they wanted. And so I was wondering, are you also involved in the whole concept of take your avatar with you, so that you are you, regardless of whatever metaverse experience you're in. Are you also involved in that? I know that OMA3 did some work around portaling on that, but I don't know to what extent you're involved in that, or whether you're just more focused just on standardization of the avatars and other objects.
Yeah, great question. We're not involved in that project you just mentioned. What we are involved in is sort of pushing forward the frontier of all of this stuff using the Chia blockchain. And the reason I bring that up is because it does solve that issue you're concerned with, which is, how do you take these assets with you? Uh, I the the I think that the best part of using blockchain is that all of those problems are solved, and they're solved in a decentralized way. So you get to save your NFTs in your wallet, and your wallet is attached to your decentralized ID. And in the case of Chia, you can even assign verifiable credentials to that. So you can move between different platforms, and as long as the platform can read your wallet, which is a standard practice these days, most people have seen Wallet Connect, things like that. Wallet Connect does a great job of handling the communication in the back end for figuring out what you own, and then providing a list of those, in this case, NFTs for integration. So yeah, a lot of that's handled on chain.
I have a use case around this, and so I'm referencing a number of like third-party activities in there as examples of how we can do this. So you recommend the Chia link that you in your presentation is that I should include?
Yeah,
As
I
an
mean, I think Chia is my personal favorite because they've taken it so much further than the other blockchains. They're actively developing and listening to the community, and most other blockchains, Ethereum and all of those, are fairly old and kind of matured, and it's harder to get these things integrated. So that's why I suggest Chia. But the same things are possible on the 20 plus NFTs metadata standards that I've reviewed. So, most people are probably going to try to use Ethereum or Polygon or something like that. And those have their benefits, mostly the size of the community that's already on them. But the downsides of those are typically the cost of using the chain. So, in the case of Ethereum, the costs were be very high, in the thousands of dollars just to make a transaction on the chain. Chia is kind of on the opposite side of that, where currently it costs about $40 to mint 500 million NFTs. So there's a economy of scale there that makes NFTs on Chia better. But essentially, all of the NFT standards are kind of working to integrate these metaverse standards, or sorry, the metadata standards that have been defined by the community at large. And my main point in this presentation is really to draw attention to the fact that these standards are not standard. There's nobody really reviewing this stuff. It just sort of gets added as needed. Anyway, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I mean, what we're doing is we are, referencing people who are already working on these standards, but we're also referencing companies that may be already implementing. So it may not be a standard, but they're kind of implementing things to a certain extent. So we kind of cover both areas and also what needs to be done. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd love to work with you, one-on-one on that offline. If you want to dig into it deeper, I can give you the details. Okay, is there anyone else out there with questions?
Yes, this is Leonard. Can you go to slide 6, please?
Yeah, sure. This one?
Yes. So
Okay.
there's a number of things here that you've labeled. First off, this is not just this slide, but throughout the whole presentation has been an amazing amount of research work that's really great and it can be used all over the place within MSF. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that you're a principal member.
Thank you.
That's good. On here, you've listed a whole bunch of standards. And I was wondering, these things that are listed as standards, what is the standardizing organization? In other words, are these coming out of SDOs? Are these been ratified by W3C, ISO, IEEE, some of the really well-known ones? Or is this some small little organization, perhaps maybe 2 or 3 companies that decide to declare a standard?
Yeah, so on the left there, where it says NFT standards, that's a list extrapolated from all the research I did on the blockchains. So in the middle column, you see the blockchains. Those are all blockchains that are actively being used on NFT marketplaces. So that far right column. And for each one of those blockchains, they have their own standards. So that's why, you can see, I think the most well-known one is Ethereum and the ERC 721 and ERC 1155, et cetera. Those are, I'm not sure if ISO got involved with this stuff in all of these cases, but all of these blockchains have a very formal process of review before these standards are put in place, because once they're in place, everybody on that blockchain has to agree that it's a standard. So they do go through a very rigorous process. And like I said, a lot of them are just pulling from the Ethereum standards. And if you go to the Ethereum, if you Google ERC 721, for example, you'll find references on the Ethereum pages, and those references will then reference standards of their own that they've adopted. So there's a sort of cascading effect of standards here, and at the base of a lot of these is some very standard W3C or ISO type stuff, but they all vary quite a bit, and they all consider their blockchain technology as well as the NFT metadata that goes into the blockchain. So they're not purely schema. There's a lot more in these standards. But yeah, does that help answer the question?
It did. But I'm also wondering, is the companies that implement these standards or the organizations that develop these standards, are these potential MSF members? Or is it...
Yeah. I mean, I think I'd like to see some of them join. I know I spoken with Chia directly, and they decided to put me in charge of the Chia part. But yeah, a lot of these Ethereum is massive. They kind of, I think it would be up to somebody like the MSF to work with what they've already put out there rather than the other way around. I know that sounds backwards, but that's kind of the scale that they're operating at. These standards are global and have been put in place for over a decade, and people are just trying to figure out how to use them for new things. And that's where I think a lot of the problems lie, is that these standards don't really give you any opportunity to do some of the more important stuff that we need, like making a composable asset. So yeah, I think a lot of these companies would love to contribute, but I don't know if they have the bandwidth to do that. I think they would much rather say, this is what we have and how can we support you, rather than really contributing directly. But yeah, it's hard to tell. A lot of these blockchains are globally distributed organizations that don't even have, a corporate location. By the nature of the beast, they're decentralized.
They are DAOs themselves.
Or they're just, yeah, a DAO, that's the fancy new thing that people are using for governance. But I think a lot of these don't even bother with that. They just publish their standards and move on. They're more concerned with the mechanics of their blockchain than how the metadata itself really works. And the metadata is kind of a afterthought. And I think if nothing else, there's plenty of potential there for these blockchains to listen to the MSF and other bodies about how to improve the metadata over time. And I'm sure they've started to notice how messy the community has made these things over, the course of 10 years or so.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Leonard, the issue with a lot of these blockchain standards is that, as Grig said, that they do standards for their own blockchain, and they don't really communicate with each other on, interoperability. So if I'm bridging something from Solana into Ethereum, I mean, it's like, good luck, right? You're not gonna, it's really tough. All these blockchains and basically all of Web3 traditionally follows an IETF process, which is very different than ISO processor or even something like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. And the IETF process is based on proposals. They don't go through use cases, requirements, threats, and that process. So that's another tidbit. In the blockchain world, Ethereum dominates, as Grig said, but they dominate on the Ethereum virtual machine standards, right? So Ethereum virtual machine is based on this programming language called Solidity. And so ERC 721 is a Solidity standard. Solana doesn't support EVM, and so Solana supports Rust. And so they have their different standard. So I think one of the roles that MSF can play is, and AMA3 is trying to do this as well for Web3 stuff, is be like the cross-chain standards body in a way. And that's why, the interoperability working group at MSF, when they're trying to get USD and GLTF to, interoperate and, use different types of metadata formats. I think that's important to do that work within those standards bodies. And then the Web3 world can look at that and say, okay, so how do I take that format or that, the metadata, and then translate it into our programming language on our blockchain? So, eventually when AMA3 does this interoperability, interworld portaling system and asset transfer, I think we're going to be looking to MSF's, file formats and metadata work and transform that into some kind of Web3 cross-chain standard for asset transfer.
Yeah, and I think it's also super important that these metaverse projects start answering the call from creators with a standard instead of, well, pitch us your idea and we'll think about it, and if we like it, we'll add it to our platform, which is the current method. I think a lot of these places would really appreciate, MSF or a similar body coming along and saying, look, we've been working on this for a while, and let's start adopting something so that we have a better answer for people. I really like the schema.org solution because it's incredibly open-ended. If you take a look at schema.org, you'll see that you can define anything under the sun, whether it's digital or physical, and break it down into its constituent parts really easily. And that makes it future proof. And the other thing that makes it future proof is that it's a live standard. The people at schema.org listen. So, you know, when there's a problem with the schema, they're happy to make changes. They made some changes for our needs recently or last year, in order to make NFTs a little bit more, so that we could store more of the data about the files in the metadata. So yeah, I think schema.org is a great partner for this, because it's kind of crazy to think that we need yet another schema that defines everything in the world. That's a huge project and an undertaking that I don't know if the MSF would be able to manage. So, you know, adopting something that's already in place really makes sense. Anyone else have questions for me?
Looks great, Greg. This was truly an awesome presentation.